Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Hanging in there. I will say, no matter how tired I am, whenever I hear that intro, my blood gets pumping and it's just like, okay, here we go. I'm ready to rock now. So all I needed was that little jingle. I'm doing good now, Metcalf. Before we get started, I have to say congratulations to you for finishing up big boy school. I mean, let everybody know you've been grinding your butt off behind the scenes. I don't know how you did it. I really don't know how you did it, but I'm really proud of you. So it's a big day. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Yeah. Finally done with grad school with my MBA. Thank God. Don't go back to school, folks. I'm kidding. But no, it was a lot, but I'm done. I'm free. God, now I have all this free time. You know, obviously I'm going to spend more time with my wife and my family and friends and all of that stuff, but think of how much more basketball I get to consume now.
How many more texts about the draft I'm about to get?
One of the big downsides though is I've lost one of my go-to excuses for getting out of stuff now, because I can't be like, gosh, sorry guys, can't go out on the weekend, got school to do. You're gonna have to find something new.
They just say you gotta work, which is you gotta watch draft film for No Ceilings. So you don't have to explain what it's for. You just be like, hey, that's works crazy, which it is.
It always. But we're having fun here. Today's episode may not be as jovial as some of our past ones and upcoming ones. We're gonna be kind of diving into panic meter time. We've had a pretty good sample on a lot of these guys. So we're going to be talking about some of the bigger names coming into the season, and if we're panicking on them, if we're not panicking on them, scale of 1 to 10, standard stuff, 10 being the freaking out, 1 not worried at all. It's tough because the expectations with this class coming in were pretty low to begin with, but there's always hype. There's always talent that comes out of every draft. So we want to get excited, but now that we're getting a bit more of a sample, we're kind of seeing more and more of who these guys are. And in some cases, a lot more red flags are popping up and a lot more are going unanswered than other prospects. Do you want to just dive right in? Do you want to go big picture? How do you want to start this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can go big picture to start off. I think this class is definitely, worth the hype when it comes to the challenges early on. I think, we got a big board coming out Friday morning. It was very interesting at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Good plug, under 4 minutes. It's free. Go check it out. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised pleasantly. There's some good rankings. Me and Metcalf were talking last night after he crunched the numbers, because he's the numbers guy on our team. And I was like, yeah, it looks pretty good. And I think what was so interesting was I was writing the intro for the big board, and I went back to our last 2 cycles of our first big board installments and the second one, because I wanted to say, like, okay, was there a lot of movement with guys? Was there some overreactions, or was it notable? Because I always think the second, third, like, this is the time of the year where it's movement time. You're cementing yourself as a legit player, like Dalton Connect, big mover over the last month or so, not only at No Ceilings, but I think general. A lot of guys like that. Kevin McCullough climbing up boards. There's a lot of names that are really cementing themselves. And last year and the year before that, it was guys like Brandon Miller started to make his surge up the boards. Asar Thompson started to creep up. A year back, it was Keegan Murray, Benedict Mathurin. So there's always these names that start to really cement themselves as legit players. But with this class, I think we're going to have to be more patient, because people are going to move up and down and left and right. It's going to be crazy. And I think the panic meter is always one of my favorite episodes. Me and you were trying to figure out what to do, and I was like, oh, panic meter. Yeah. It's perfect for this class. So this is going to be a good one. But Metcalf, are you, big picture talk, are you having to be more patient this year? Like I'm really, really calm about this draft, because I think it's what I've said at the beginning. I think it's just, you can't be obsessed with star power. You can't be trying to find a star. And I feel like once you realize that, it gets a little bit more interesting. If you're trying to say, like, hey, these might be connecting pieces, these might be complementary pieces, But if you're looking for that superstar power, I think this is going to really scare you.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I've approached this draft mainly, where I'm almost being less patient with these guys, and I'm willing to see the absolute 100th percentile, absolute ceiling for these guys. And it's like, oh my God, if Ron Holland continues shooting like this, and if the playmaking develops and the handle gets better and the defensive consistency improves, he's going to be Jaylen Brown out there. He's going to be incredible. He's going to be an all NBA level guy. Same with Modest Buzelis and, you know, Alexander Sarr and Jacoby Walter and all these guys. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but what is the realistic outcome of them hitting that upside? Like, is their variance, literally 0 to a 100, or is it kind of more in the 65 to 80 percentile range of what they could be? And what are the odds with that? And when we look at past drafts with guys like Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Luka Doncic, Anthony Edwards, Wemby, Scoot, Brandon Miller, so on and so on, those, they had their 100th percentile outcomes, but their floors felt way safer. It felt way more likely that they were going to reach those higher level outcomes. And with these guys, there's just so much variance across the board where it's like, if you're not showing me stuff at this point, I'm going to move you down pretty aggressively and stop being as patient in this class when there are some upperclassmen who may not have the ceiling that some of these freshmen have, but their floors, their, for lack of a better term, guaranteed outcome of who they're going to be, their ability to be kind of a plug and play role player for the majority of their career. I'm finding that a lot more enticing this year. So I'm kind of finding these guys who I'm really confident can play right off the bat, fill a role, do the little things. I've been moving them up and kind of punishing some of these freshmen who are really, really, really inconsistent.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. I think it's something that we've kind of talked about behind the scenes through texting, and I kind of threw a hot take to the No Ceilings crew today, and I feel like I didn't get a response right away, so everyone was kind of probably burning like, whoa, Rucker's a little crazy. But I was like, I think what you're getting at, and it's now I'm hearing you say it, and I'm like, this might be the year in which, yeah, there's a lot of upside with these guys, but no one feels good about their floor. No, it's a very insecure feeling when it comes to like, well, if it doesn't click, what is he? And that's why I was going to say this later, but I think the panic meter with the freshmen is going to be a little high right now, because there's guys in this class like Jaime Jaquez is doing fantastic stuff for the Miami Heat as a rookie. He's been fantastic. And there's guys in this class that give me those vibes. And I believe this could be the year in which upperclassmen start to really make some noise, because teams are going to know what they're getting.
Yeah.
Kevin McCullough is a name that I said to this group today. I was like, what's keeping him out of the lottery right now? Because I think a team will be like, we know what Kevin McCullough is. He's 6'7", can play multiple positions. His numbers are awesome. And I'm just using him as an example, but Dalton Connect, we just talked about. I'm wondering if teams could start getting a little bit more intrigued with those guys because of the floor, because you know what you're getting. There's just a lot of unknown. It's going to be awesome to talk about for months. It's just really cool year. I know it's giving us headaches, but it's a really cool year to talk about it and, really dig deep.
Absolutely. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yep, let's do it.
Dive right into it. First guy, Ron Holland, putting up some really, really impressive numbers with the Ignite right now. Where are you at?
So 1 is low, 10 is high, correct?
1 is we're not worried at all, very confident in, in his long-term potential, his draft stock, all of that. 10 is holy fuck, burn this place down.
So I might shock some people. I'm at a 2.
Fascinating.
And here's why. Because I don't think I view Ron Holland like most people are trying to imagine Ron Holland. I'm not viewing Ron Holland as like, oh, this potentially is a number 1 guy. I think his ceiling is a very nice number 2 guy. I guess I'm just kind of at that point where I'm like, me and you were talking about Ron Holland and how polarizing he is. And you were like, man, I loved how you phrased it. What did you say? You were like, I absolutely love and hate him. Or so, and I was like, yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. Because I think with Ron, if you're chasing like, oh, he could be the number one pick, the guy, I think you're in for a rude awakening. But if you could be like, hey, if we got Ron Holland and we have someone else with him, it could be really nice. Like, just top my head, but like if the Spurs landed Ron Holland, I know, they need a point guard and stuff, but like the idea of having Victor and Ron Holland sounds intriguing, sounds fun. But if I'm just throwing a fit, it was the first one that came to my head. I think if you had Ron Holland with a guy, that's your offensive guy, that's where Ron could really succeed. But there's just times on tape where I'm like, I don't think I'm ever giving Ron Holland the ball all the time and being like, we need you to score all the time. I think he's going to be this off-ball guy that could be a great cutter, athletic, a demon in transition, strong defensive player. That's where I'm at with him. And I think people are going to project him going top 5. I think I said it to you. I was like, in a normal year, if I got him from 7 to 12, I would be ecstatic. Mm-hmm. But this year could get interesting. I don't know. What about you? Where are you at?
So entering the year, I had him as like a top 3 guy. The prestige, the potential, athleticism, all that fun stuff. But I'm at like a 6. I'm not totally panicking, but I'm also not super comfortable with where to place him in the rankings. I currently have him at 6 overall. And a lot of that is just kind of simply due to this class, honestly, because I've tried dropping him lower and just the absolute potential of what he could grow into. Because I don't want to rule that out yet. I just couldn't at this point drop him much lower than that. But I feel like his raw numbers, his per game numbers, they're impressive right now. They also feel incredibly inflated just based on that chaotic style of G League play and that up and down pace. All of it feels really, really inflated, and kind of the beneficiary of a lack of overall structure. And I'm just going to run through some of his synergy numbers here. And while they're not bad, they're not exactly good either. Right. So transition, 43rd percentile, spot up, 51st percentile, which is much better than I was anticipating coming into the year. So that's a good sign. Pick and roll ball handler, 49th percentile, handoffs, 49th percentile, isolation, 40th percentile, jump shots, 27th percentile, catch and shoot, 41st percentile, dribble jumpers, 35th percentile, floaters, 18th percentile, around the rim, 60th percentile. So, there's some good stuff. There's a lot of concerning stuff too. So am I way off base in kind of thinking that way?
No, I don't think you are. I mean, he's averaging on the year right now. He's averaging 20 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 2.2 steals, shooting splits of 47, 27, 68. He had an 11 turnover game that everyone was just like, what in the world? But his last 5, I think Ron Holland's going to be this hot and cold type of player. That's why I'm thinking if you have a go-to scorer and Ron's doesn't have it offensively tonight, but Brandon Miller's got it. Or someone in the comments was like, hey, what about him with Portland? That makes some sense to me because you potentially could have Scoot, who's on the way up, and Shaden Sharp. Like, that'd be great. But now Ron Holland's starting to get cooking. His last 5 games, he's averaging 26.6 points, 8.2 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 2.8 steals, shooting splits 52, 33, 90. That's something I get excited about because I'm like, hey, if Ron Holland could make an impact in so many different ways, and I'm getting him at mid 30% from 3, great. Awesome. But I just think if you have Ron Holland number 1 on your board, that's fine. I have no problems with that. I've got him at 5. I feel really good about having him in my top 5, top 6, because I think I would like to get him around 5 or 6 or 7. And if I really love him, I guess top 4. But we're going to have to wait and see with it. Well, I mean, one of the fans asked, like, where are you at with his shooting, Metcalf? Like, what do you think of it? I think it's gotten better.
It looks better than I was anticipating, but the form doesn't feel all that different than what it looked
fluid?
like. Maybe a little bit.
He has some step back stuff where you're like,
yeah,
what the, like, I was like, you're like, whoa, if that's where you get excited. You're like, even if that's coming around more consistently, but there just seems also a lot of times and where I get hesitant with him, where it's like, I don't know what he's doing with the ball in his hands sometimes. Transition, he's awesome because he's just a bullet, and he's very confident. But like, he had a fantastic sequence where he had a transition dime, steal, and 3, and you're like, whoa, okay. But I don't know.
Yeah, in transit, he might be one of the best transition players in this draft, just because he is so goddamn fast, and he's like that in the half court too, where they'll run him off of handoffs, and he's just a blur getting downhill. And something that I've really enjoyed from him is he's these last couple weeks where he started lowering his shoulder into guys, kind of shrugging them off, stepping back to his left, and then finishing through the contact. And that's a really nice move. That's a pro move against grown men. So that's the kind of stuff that you like to see. But on the flip side of that, his handle right now is awful. And he's turning it over in traffic all the time. There are minimal passing instincts there. And as much as I like the ability to kind of shrug guys off when he drives and play with that physicality, there's not a whole lot of craft when he gets downhill. It's all, I'm just going to kind of barrel into you and hope for the best here. And if you're stronger than me, it's going to end up in a bad shot or a turnover. And if you're a smaller guard, then I'm probably finishing through you. So that's nice for right now, but how feasible is that when we project long-term and what he could be? Because his height has been listed anywhere from 6'6" to 6'8", and I do not think it is closer to 6'8". I think it's on the lower end of that spectrum. So how feasible is it for a 6'6" guy to play with that type of physicality against NBA rim protectors and forwards and, perimeter defenders on a nightly basis, especially if you're taking him top 3, top 5, first overall? You're expecting him to be the go-to guy. And I'm not sure he has the feel overall to do that. And I'm not sure that he makes anyone on the court better.
Yeah, I think the dream is you get him alongside a couple strong pieces, and he's a game wrecker. Like when Ron's cooking, whoa, but like buckle up, because he can make those plays that really swing momentum. Like, you get a fast break, Ron Holland can just turn on the turbo button and throw down with anger. Like he's very special, gifted that way, and I think he makes an impact defensively. It's just there is
sorry to cut you off with the defense. Do you have any red flags or concerns or anything with that?
It's too soon for me there. I've seen where the motor can take him.
Right.
But it's something I just need to watch closer. But I know when Ron's engaged and locked in, he has the tools to be a nasty defender. Where are you at?
I think it's really similar to his offense, where it is really based on the motor and the physical tools. And when he engages those, the highlights are awesome. The numbers that he generates on that end, he can be a game wrecker. But then you look at all the kind of in between stuff, and it's him getting beat on back cuts and losing his man in motion and getting caught ball watching and not communicating switches and doing the little things. We talked about Kevin McCullough in the open, and you look at all the kind of nuances to McCullough's team defense, and I don't get any of that with Holland. So I know that that's not really the selling point with him, because he does have the upside of this tenacious, chaotic, game-wrecking point of attack defender. And with that, I think there's a lot of upside and intrigue there. But the second he gets switched off ball, it's like, okay, now what are we doing here? Because there's a lot of mistakes that are popping up by the game.
If he was doing what he was doing offensively and he was just a dominant, high motor all the time lockdown defender, I'd be having him near 1. Like if the defense was just bully mode all the time and he was just like, I'm not letting anyone score on me or I'm helping out, I feel like that would be getting me into that conversation. regardless of what's going on offensively right now. But I just do. That's why I have him a little bit. I'd feel more comfortable getting him lower because there is some questions and probably going to be really good. Find out some intel because teams are going to swing that in a big way based on what feedback they're getting.
And I have major questions about his feel and overall kind of basketball IQ and all that stuff, ability to read the floor. How, just to get a little philosophical here before we move on, how realistic is it for players to kind of develop and improve upon that? Because when I think of that type of skill, I feel like you have to have just an obscene work ethic and be a gym rat and constantly grinding in the gym, grinding tape, doing all of that kind of stuff. And obviously this is a very, very, very limited sample size, but I didn't get that sense from him in Portland at Hoop Summit. I've talked to a couple people who have kind of echoed those same concerns. But then you also get the reports of him working out with Jermaine O'Neal and people praising his work ethic. So obviously mixed reports here, but personally, I just have, I need him to start answering some of these questions and haven't quite seen it yet. And despite that, he's still, top 5 basically for me.
Yeah, I think we've talked. I feel like that question always comes up and it just leads to just a hammer, like traveling down a rabbit hole when it comes to like, can you improve feel? Because you could feel so strongly like each way. I don't think someone's, Tyrese Halliburton had unbelievable feel and vision at college. It's not like a guy all of a sudden gets drafted and like develops having like that type of feel. You can improve it and read tape and watch tape and analyze like, hey, okay, when I attack this place, I could do this. I think there's areas you can definitely improve on, but I don't think it's just naturally, Jaylen Brown's college film, we always like to bring it up. Like he's gotten much better, but you still see some of the struggles that he's had. So I think you could mask it, hide it a little bit, but I don't think guys are all of a sudden being like, I worked really hard in the gym. Now I'm going to average 10 assists. It's just sometimes it is an important area to consider. Like, hey, you could be this successful, but if you don't have great feel, it might be a rude awakening.
And it's such a vague term to throw out there too. And can be interpreted so many different ways. So.
Yeah, it's a very deep conversation because you think it's like, oh, it's ABC. No, it gets down the alphabet
it's
in
like,
a hurry.
Is he a good shooter? It's like, let me look at the percentages.
Yeah.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
It's like, does he have a good feel? It's like, okay, well, here's a whole fucking rabbit hole that we get to dive down into, and everyone's definition is a little bit different.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to Izan Almansa, but let's take a quick ad break. All right, we're back. Izan Almansa, Ron Holland's G League Ignite teammate, came over from Spain, had a dominant performance in the FIBA World Cup for, I think it was the U18 over the summer, may have been U19. But dominant performance there, kind of off to a slow start, struggling to kind of find his footing here with the Ignite. Almansa entered the year top 3, even atop some people's boards. I was not part of that train, but he had a lot of fans coming into the season. Where are you at with Almansa?
I'm at a 9. So, yep, I just became Scrooge, folks. I just don't. I'm not in. I hope it's a complete shift and he surprises me, but I'm just not in. It's not the player that I was very intrigued by preseason because I thought there was just going to be a lot more of a killer mindset. I don't know. I thought there was going to be a lot more aggressiveness, versatility. I don't know if it's fit. I don't know if it's just, it's just not there, but I got aggressive. I moved him down a lot on my board. I think I've got him mid-4. Yeah, I got him at 44. If you want to come at me, come at me.
46.
Yeah, there you go. So I don't see a path in which all of a sudden a light switch flicks and it's just like, oh, it's 15 and 11 and a couple blocks. And I mean, he's averaging 7.4 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 1.5 blocks. It's not terrible, but he's a big man shooting 47% from the field, 25% from three, 43% from the free throw line. That's not awesome. And that's in 26.9 minutes. So I just, the problem with Almansa is when I'm looking at him, this is a class that last year we were like, the big class is kind of weak. This year there's kind of pick your flavor. Like, what do you want? And there's a lot of bigs that are upperclassmen that have been productive. And Kyle Filipowski, Oso Ighodaro, you want to go deeper. Ron Holland is having another great year for Dayton. So it's like, well, what is Almansa bringing to the table that, I could get a lower floor guy, right? Like those guys that could bring more punch. And I'm not saying like Filipowski doesn't have a high ceiling. I'm just saying you kind of know what you're getting with those guys. Almansa, I don't know what I'm getting. So I'm at a 9, DEFCON 2, whatever you want to put it that way. What about you?
I might just be at a flat out 10.
Oh, great. So are we being too harsh?
I mean, I'm
probably wrong.
Obviously, we always want these guys to succeed. We're not rooting against any of these guys. But what does he do at an NBA level right now? What is his NBA skill? Offensive rebounding? I like him on the boards. I think he crashes the glass nicely. But he's not finishing around the rim. He can't shoot. He's not explosive. Almost everything looks below the rim on his finishes. Not a big time rim protector. Some of his block numbers have been solid recently, but that's more so him just kind of being big and in the way. I don't know. Because I feel like a lot of what we saw him succeed at in FIBA with Spain was his ability to kind of attack from the perimeter and drive and be kind of versatile out of the role and DHO keepers and all that stuff. And we're not seeing any of it. And even when he tries to, I mean, as the pick and roll man, it's his most frequent possession. He's in the 18th percentile. He's not a vertical spacer. The passing optimism that we were hoping to see with him kind of creating out of the short roll from the top of the key, all that kind of stuff. We haven't seen that. I just don't know what he offers, right? An NBA team right now. It's been tough. He's unfortunately been one of my least favorite watches.
Yeah, like I think you put it perfectly. I don't know if it's just the fit. Like if I ask around and someone's like, I'm still high on him, I'm going to be like, are you just buying it's a terrible fit? Because then I understand that. And it's been past years where scouts were like, it's a terrible fit. I still love him. I know people still love him. I'm like, okay, fine. But he had all this versatility with Spain and had all this intriguing stuff where it was like you put the ball in his hands, he could make some plays, he could do some stuff. And now you're just not seeing it as often. So it's almost like, well, what are you doing? Like, what are you bringing to the table? But all right, Metcalf, I'll play this or that with you.
You beat me to it. Okay.
All right. Oso or Almansa?
Sorry, pulling up my board. Oso.
Khalil Ware or Almansa? Whoa. But come on. I know you're lower on Ware, but like
I have Almansa.
You've at least
right now.
seen something. Wow.
Not by much, but going off my board. I'm
trying to get. I mean, I don't want to spoil who we're about to talk about. So, but like Missy from Baylor, if you were in the draft room right now and you had a pick in the middle of the second round and they were both on the board, which way would you lean?
I would go Missy.
I would too, because it's at least
I think
high motor
the athleticism
power
is there.
Yeah, it's athleticism. I know he's going to play hard. He's going to try, and there's stuff to work with, but I don't know.
Like he's shown me way more as a rim protector, way more as a vertical spacer, way more as a role finisher. I think in terms of just raw skill, Almansa probably has him beat, but it's like, am I really looking for that at that point in the draft from that position? It's like, no.
It's tough because I think he's very skilled. I just don't think he needs to be like you're feeding me touches to make an impact. And I don't think the Ignite are going to be a team that are like, we're playing through Etan. Like, it's not going to happen. So he's got to figure out how can I stand out? How can I make an impact? Like he's just got to figure some stuff out. So right now, yeah, I'm at a 9.
Yeah, and when you look at this team with and without Eric Mika,
yeah,
that's pretty damning. And
Mika it's really showing how important Mika was, because that's the type of guy who, like, Mika makes an impact without getting force fed. Like he's always making an impact. That's why he's
those
so
he's making those bounce passes to cutters. He's being an effective screener, and we're not seeing any of that from Almansa. Obviously I think some of it is due to style and what they're allowing him to do, but that was one of the big selling points with him coming into the year. I was skeptical at the start of the year. It's just kind of reaffirmed my doubts, which I hate. I wanted him to come out and kick ass and be like, look, Metcalf, you're a fucking idiot. And at least in this case, I haven't been, which is really rare. Really rare.
Really rare.
Really rare.
Anything else?
No, let's move on to Carlton Carrington. Lil Bub Carrington from Pitt, point guard. One of the kind of darling breakouts of the year so far. Had scorching hot start to a season. Has cooled off a little bit now that competition has rose. Where are you at with Lil Bub?
Panic meter wise, I'm at a 3. Because I understand that he was scorching hot to start the year, and then he gets all the attention and had a couple games where he struggled. Then he had a game where he looked pretty impressive, like some good flashes. He's averaging 14.9 points, 5.1 rebounds, 6.1 assists. That's pretty damn good. He's 6'4", 6'5", freshman, checks a box really quick. Splits are of 43, 34, 78. Like, if you told me a freshman point guard that with that physical profile was going to put up those numbers, I'd be like, well, shit, is he in the top 10? Like, it's very, very intriguing. Like, that's a very fun upside. That's something that I think teams will, if he has great intel, which it sounds like there's some rumblings of good stuff. Mm-hmm. I think teams will buy into, like, hey, unfinished product we can develop. He would a pre-draft guy where, like, you're drafting him now because if he goes back another year, he might be this Jaden Ivey that just skyrockets up into the top 7-ish. I don't know. I know I'm at a 3, but like now I'm even talking, maybe it's lower. I just am like, hey, like this makes sense of a guy that, like, I have him at 22. I still think he's a first round talent for sure. But having said all of that, he's got, when conference play is kicking in, and he's got to showcase that he can stay the course. Like, if he's still putting up this type of production after lengthy conference play, I'm going to be like, this is legit. But if he struggles in that, then I think we might be looking at, like, okay, maybe he's another breakout year guy. But what about you?
Yeah, I'm at like a 2 or 3. And I still have him at 14 on my board. The big gripe with him is that everything is a pull-up jumper. He never gets to the rim, and I get the concerns with that. Only 10.7% of his shots have come at the rim, while 88.5% have been jump shots, and that's concerning for a 6'5" guard. You want them to pressure the rim, but then you look at the numbers. On jump shots, he's in the 72nd percentile in points per possession. As the pick and roll ball handler for scoring, he's in the 94th percentile. Pick and roll ball handler, including passes, the 95th percentile. So it's not like he's settling for trash shots and making the wrong decision. He's just, I think, physically a step behind in terms of being able to handle the size and speed and physicality of getting to the rim, because his senior year at rim numbers weren't bad by any means. I think they were kind of similar breakdown. Filibustering. I mean, EYBL, he didn't get there a ton. Only 15.6% of his shots came there. But I think for St. Francis, he's up around 23% of his shots and was in the 74th percentile in points per possession. So it's never been a major part of his game, but it's not like he's never found success there. I think he has good touch. I really buy the jumper. I think it looks really good. Needs to speed up the release a little bit. but he's hitting stuff off the catch, off of movement. It's really tough shot making, really, professional level shot making. And then his decision making coming out of screens and the pick and roll and all that kind of stuff is really sound. Like his assist to turnover, he takes care of the ball, he creates for others. I know he's in a really good spot with the guys around him who are making shots, but he's still got to set them up in the right places, and he's doing that.
Just a really quick single this or that. Bub or Tyrese Proctor?
Bub.
Okay. I have Proctor for now, but I also think Proctor's.
I need Tyrese to start making some shots.
Yeah, I just we should have had him on the panic meter, but I'm very low on. I think people just thought Tyrese was going to be a top 7 guy. I thought he was going to have a breakout too, but now I'm like, okay, I know what Tyrese is going to be. So, all right, I have nothing else. I'm right there with you with Carrington. I just low meter for me. Like I think it's a pleasant surprise, and I think if he stayed in the draft, some team would probably see him as like hey, this is a nice piece for us to develop for a year, and then good talent. He hits some tough shots that you're like, man, that's an NBA move right there. Like he had like a drive, a step, like a pump body fake step back off one foot, and I was like, woof. So there's some really good flashes, but it's just now we need to see some more consistency. But if he gets heating up again, especially in conference play, like he is going to get rolling up boards. It's just right now I think people are almost waiting for him to kind of struggle so they could be like, maybe next year. But I'm waiting, patient.
Yeah, and obviously so much of this panic meter is influenced by preseason expectations, and with Carrington there weren't any, so it's like he's putting up awesome numbers. He's playing really well. So it's like, all right, cool. If he stays in this draft, awesome, pleasant surprise. If he comes back, it's like, all right, well, he was never expected to be a one and done anyways. Whereas guys like Holland and Almansa were like had top 5 expectations. So obviously all of this is skewed and influenced a little bit. But I would stress just with Carrington, I know he's not scoring a whole lot at the rim. I know he's not shooting a whole lot at the rim, but he does a lot of his rim pressure. He's looking to kick out and create for others out of that. So it's not like he's never driving, like he's never getting paint touches, but he's just rarely kind of looking for his own shot there. When he does drive, though, he has really good vision on those kickoffs, those dump offs to cutters, that kind of stuff. So yes, it'd be nice for him to score more at the rim, but it's not like he's not generating anything in that area of the floor. All right, let's move on to Justin Edwards.
Oh boy, here we go.
My preseason number 1.
Currently, hi, my name's Tyler. I had him preseason number 1. I'm going to make fun of myself so much this year. If he doesn't get cooking, I'm going to be like, yep, how was that? We have to laugh at ourselves, folks. Like that's what you have to do.
It's the only way to keep from crying.
Yeah.
Where are you at with Mr. Edwards?
I'm at a 7. Because I still think he's a good talent, but there's also the devil inside my head of being like, just rip the Band-Aid off. It happened. You bought in. It's so annoying because I hate buying in on the idea. I always talk about this in pods. Like when people chase the idea of a player, it drives me crazy. And I usually feel like I'm pretty good about when it comes to evaluating of pumping the brakes on the idea. Like I want you to show more than just that. But you take into the situation, like if it's a young 18-year-old playing at EuroLeague, I buy in a little bit on the idea of something because it's limited sample. But then you put tape together, you put the puzzle together.
The
Piesel. The Piesel. I haven't heard of that one before. That's a new term. But Edwards I'm chasing the idea right now. I still am because I see good flashes and I'm like, yeah. And then I catch myself being like, why am I getting so excited for just, a nice backdoor cut?
Yep.
Because I'm trying to buy into what I saw earlier and, it's just going to be interesting. I still think there is a world in which he starts to put up some good games. Maybe Aaron Bradshaw being back and Big Z, if he ever plays, will help. I don't know. It just always seems like he's having a good game And I'm like, okay, just go finish with 17 and 8. And like, then he's got, 9 and 4 at halftime, and he ends up with like 12 and 5. And I'm like, what happened? But then you look and you're like, oh, Rob Dillingham went off in the second half. Reed Shepherd did. I don't know. He's averaging 9.8 points, 4.2 rebounds, almost 1 assist, 1 steal, splits of 46, 25, 68. If he was shooting like 50, 44, I think I'd feel better. But like, I thought Edwards was going to be a tall lefty shooter, and he's not right now. So I just, every time I'm watching him, I'm like, stop thinking of what he could become. Like, watch what you're looking at right now and level it out more. I don't know. I'm at therapy now. Where are you at?
I still have him top 10, but he's just hanging on by a thread.
I have him at 9.
I'm at like a 7 or an 8 panic meter.
I have him at 9, and he's like 2 weeks in my book from just I'm all out. I'm literally not all out. I'm just gonna be like, enough's enough, Rucker. Like, get your shit together. Yeah. And
sometimes these guys tell you who they are. And when we saw him at Hoop Summit drink, we were like, God, if the switch flips with this guy, he could be a stud. The shot looks smooth. Really like the team defense, the rebounding, some of the passing flashes, but he was super passive. He took the back seat a lot of the time. And, we were always like, God, man, if he didn't have that number 1 recruit label next to his name, we'd be way more interested in him. And this would look so much more appealing. And
it hurts so bad when we said that out loud too, because we were like, oh, this is going to hurt us. That we
like,
just
wait, why aren't we taking our own advice here? It's literally just that meme of, the guy poking something with a stick saying, do something. He's just standing in the corner a lot. And the fact that he's shooting 26% from 3 is an absolute killer. He's in the 26th percentile in spot up scoring. That's awful, especially for who he's supposed to be, or at minimum of what we thought he could be. It's rough. And, people were dogging on Jacoby Walter for his assist rate, which is now up to a lofty 6.8. Don't get too excited. But guess what Justin Edwards is?
3.
5. He's not doing anything. He's not creating for others. He's not creating for himself. He's not knocking down shots. Maybe part of it is that Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham really came in and blew the doors off that program and kind of cemented themselves as the guys, and he's just letting them cook, and he's trying to find his place in, that kind of ever evolving team, maybe, but it's Kentucky. If you want to be the guy, you got to step up. You got to do something. You have to carry your weight, and he's just not doing that. And, I had way higher expectations with the defense. It's been fine, but not what I expected.
Seeing him in Portland drink the defense, I thought like, oh my gosh, this could be.
There was some weak side stuff where he was covering 4 guys at the same time. It was incredible.
I saw on ball stuff that I was like, this could be a mad, because it was just the footwork. I was like, oh gosh, and I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen a lot of stuff that I was like really, excited about, and it's just tough. It really is tough. I feel like Ryan Russillo was buying into Jeff Green. I feel like that's me about Jeff Edwards, the prospect right now.
No, but guys, you don't understand. Think of what.
But like, it's also it's setting up for 2 ways. He either does this all year, drives us crazy, and someone takes a flyer on him at the end of the first round of like hey, maybe we can unlock him, and whatever. Or they go to the tournament and he has like an unreal stretch, and then goes to workouts and everyone's buzzing about him, and I'm going to be like, son of a gun. But I don't know. I don't see that right now.
If he was shooting 38% from 3, how would you feel?
Better. I'd feel better about having him where I have him right now. I would still have him right now in the same spot. Really crazy question for you. I thought of this the other day. I wasn't going to bring it up on the air because I don't think it's going to be received very well. But I'm going to say it anyways. If you switch Justin Edwards and Ron Holland, are any of them doing better?
No.
I wonder if Edwards is doing better with the Ignite.
I mean,
I don't think Ron Holland would look better with Kentucky. Does that make sense?
And I think Holland's numbers would probably be about the same. I think maybe, if not better, he might be even a little more physically imposing.
I think Edwards, I'm wondering if he has to be having the ball. Like, he just has to have the ball.
I don't think he's that good of an on-ball creator.
I don't either, but I think he's got to be like I have the ball.
So then why do you want him with the ball?
I'm saying, like, in transition, like when we saw stuff for their global tour, he was grab and go, making decisions, looking like he was feeling himself. Now I just feel like he just stands away and it's like, well, I'm supposed to just stand here.
Yeah, well,
sometimes he's cutting and slamming, and I love that. And he's on the glass and stuff, but I just need more. But I know how this movie ends. Sorry, go ahead.
Transition is his second most frequent possession type. We're looking at synergy right now. Over a quarter of his possessions are in transition. He ranks in the 11th percentile in scoring.
There's just no aggressiveness.
No.
He runs to the corner and
constant passivity. He's always taking the back seat. If not, telling everyone to go ahead, and he'll hang behind and order his own Uber. It's rough.
I'll tell you right now, my freak out mode is I think I'm going to end up liking Buzelis more than Edwards. I think they're going to switch spots in my head
in that direction.
And look at us now. Who would have thought? But hey, maybe that's a good life lesson, Who knows?
All right. Let's move on to our last one. Not ending necessarily on a high note here. We're going to go with Aday Mara, center from UCLA. Came over from Spain. I'm at a 10.
This one's tough. So I'm at an 8. I initially wrote 5 because I was like, I understand why he's not playing. And I'm not surprised that he's not dominating. I didn't think he was going to come in and just dominate. But I'm at an 8 because 1, he's not playing. 2, looks slow. Like, it's stuff we were very concerned about. And I think it's just next year, which is going to be interesting to see if he's going to be there for multiple years. But
we sure it's next year?
No, I'm not. But I don't know. Like, someone's going to say, oh, it's the fit. And I'm going to be like, he has cinder blocks for feet. It's something I always got taught when I was starting out taking scouting seriously. I picked the mind of some really good evaluators. And one of them was said, when you're watching bigs, hands and feet. It's always the first 2 things you got to check. And he's like, if he doesn't have good feet, he will not last in the NBA. And I was like, that I got to remember that. So when I watch a guy like Mara, who I understand how big he is, he's a gigantic figure. But I mean, imagine any point guard in the NBA being like, let's bring you out to the perimeter. Like, he just is cooked. So he's averaging 5.5 points, 3.4 rebounds, 0.9 assists, 1.0 blocks, shooting splits 50% from the free throw line. He's played 8 games. He's played 14.4 minutes. So yeah, UCLA, they swung for the fences with this Euro class and everyone was getting excited. And now you're quickly realizing college basketball is a different type of beast and they're struggling and Mara can't get on the court. So I just, I don't know. What about you, Metcalf? Did I miss something?
No, I mean
him or Almansa right now. I think I would take Mara. If I had to take a second round pick and you had to tell me one of them, I think I would swing on Mara figuring it out because of his playmaking.
But I mean,
I'm just telling you, I would swing on that.
If
it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
If he can't survive defensively, then his playmaking is completely irrelevant because he's not a good rebounder. He gets bullied. He is the biggest. I've never seen someone that big get moved that easily. His lower body strength is non-existent. His feet are incredibly heavy in space. He's not shooting it.
I hope he stays multiple years because I could see a world in which he becomes a bully, but he needs to put on weight, muscle, a lot of stuff. And I also don't know if putting that on is going to help his
It's not going to speed him up.
No. So it's a tough one.
And what's even more concerning, like defensively, like the fundamentals aren't there. Like you look at guys like Jonas Valanciunas, just obscenely massive human being, but when he gets pulled out, he at least moves his feet a little bit. He knows how to kind of use his hands and his strength to knock guys off their drives. Mara, every single time, narrow feet, narrow base, high in his hips. There's no effort there. There's no fundamental. There's no understanding of what he needs to be doing out there. And he's got an impressive block rate of 9.4. It's really good, but you can't tell me that isn't solely because he's just massive and is completely hidden on defense, and they just put him around the rim and ask him to just not get in the way.
It's like buffering every time he needs to move directions and change directions quickly. I feel like it's buffering. It's like a loading process where like his body and mind are not at the same speed. He's like, I need to move there. And it's like his body's a step behind recognizing it. So it's just, I hope he stays another year, and I hope he just like figures it out and it clicks and it'll be great. Because all the questions we're having about this class, there's going to be a chance that there is a vicious amount of really exciting players going back for another year that we're going to be like, this class really is getting cooking now. Like, yes, we know how excited next year is going to be, but I think it's just going to be interesting with all these little wrinkles if some guys go back. Like, what if we get like Jared McCain and Elliot Cadeau and Bub Carrington going back for another year? Like, you never know.
Yeah, well, and then
Justin Edwards.
Oh God.
No, that's all I got. I mean, it's a tough crew.
Yeah, and I want these guys to be good. They're not showing me any of it, unfortunately. So
my panic meter is high for how much I'm starting to get intrigued about Buzelis. He looked good. He looked good the other night. He looked good. He looked much better. I'm not saying I'm like, oh, he's back into my top 10. I'm just saying he looks like maybe this is working out. Maybe this is trending in the right direction. I get it.
All right. That's all we got for Panic Meter. Let's take our last ad break and move on to our Rookie of the Week. All right, Rucker. Last week we started a new segment where we're just spinning a wheel and having it land on a random rookie.
We got to think of a name for that. I mean, come on. What is this?
Well,
the wheel of rookie, the rookie wheel.
The rookie
fans,
wheel, sure.
You guys can comment, whatever. The rookie wheel.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're like, wow, this sounds a lot like what Andrew Schlecht and Alex Spears do on the Athletic NBA show, you're damn right it does, because that's where I got it from. But instead of the wheel of fandom where they pick a team, we're picking a rookie because we want to do more NBA stuff. And, we watch these guys all the time, and it's important to kind of track of where they were, what they're doing now, why, what changed, what didn't, what's working, what's not, all of that kind of stuff. So this week, we have Toumani Camara, 6'7" forward for the Portland Trailblazers. In college, he spent 2 years at Georgia before transferring to Dayton for 2 years. He was number 51 on our final No Ceilings big board. He went 52nd overall to the Phoenix Suns and was part of the trade package that sent DeAndre Ayton to Portland. Initially thought of as just kind of a filler piece, but now looking to be a lot more and really productive, really impactful. Just going to kind of run through just a bevy of numbers here before we kind of get into his game, what we like, all that kind of stuff. So he's currently averaging 25.9 minutes a game, which is the 9th most among rookies, 6.7 points, 16th among rookies, shooting splits of 38, 25, 69, 4.7 rebounds, which is 6th among rookies, and 1.2 assists. His block rate of 1.1 ranks in the 66th percentile. His steal rate of 1.5 ranks in the 66th percentile. His offensive rebounding rate of 7.3 ranks in the 89th percentile. His on-off net rating differential of plus 6.1 is in the 76th percentile. So the Trailblazers net rating is 6.1 points per possession higher, or points per 100 possession higher when he's on the court than when he's off. His on-off offensive rating differential is plus 4, which is in the 72nd percentile. His on-off defensive rating differential is minus 2.1, which is in the 63rd percentile. Sorry, a lot of numbers, but just kind of trying to add some context into what Camara's succeeded at. So what have been your early season thoughts on Camara, surprises, all that kind of stuff?
I got one more number, and it's going to shock the crap out of everyone. I got to give a shout out to my buddy Nima. He's one of my best friends, and one of his best friends works in the front office with Portland. So we were just joking today, and I was like, hey, I'm talking about Toumani later. What have you thought this year? Because he's just been watching closely, and we were BSing before, and he sent me something from the World Wide Web.
Rookies. I heard there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yes. Here you go. This might shock some people. Despite those in crazy shooting splits, this numbers will shock you. Rookies with 125 points, 100 rebounds, 20 steals, and 15 three-pointers. Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, and Toumani Camara. That's the list. I'm also very proud that you put 51st on No Ceiling's big board, because I wrote that too, and I was like, yes, Metcalf, we're cooking. But here's my thing with Toumani. I know this, the shooting splits, you're probably like, but I think this is a guy that's really trending up towards being a serious piece for Portland. And I'm not saying like, oh, he's going to be the third player on the team. I'm just saying this is a piece where every team that the rebuild starts really cooking has a piece like this that you're just like, we're keeping Toumani around all the time. I thought Chris Murray was going to have this type of impact early on compared to Toumani. I still think Chris Murray could be a guy next year that all of a sudden really starts to take his stride and find his groove. But now that you have Toumani doing this type of stuff, making an impact all over the place, and you're finding that value from 50th pick, 52nd pick, you said?
Yep. And a filler in a trade.
And a filler in a trade. And I know, he looked very good at Summer League for the Suns. Mm-hmm. He was very impressive. This is a guy at college that almost averaged 14 and 9 his last year with 1.7 assists, 1.2 steals, almost a block a game. He shot 54, 36, 66 at college. He's just one of those versatile guys you could kind of throw out there. He's had some games where, he's had 14 rebounds or 13 rebounds. He just kind of an impactful player that you really like to have in your rotation. And I think it's been really cool. It's another guy that's an upperclassman that's having success at the NBA level because teams know what they're going to get out of him. So I'm excited for him. I think that's another great find for Portland. And it's going to be hilarious looking back and being like, oh yeah, when Toumani was a filler, turns out to be a great piece for Portland moving forward. What about you, Mecca?
Yeah, I know he's just been really impressive. And, Runner Dude in the comments is asking about his defense. And I think this is something we probably should have been a little more expected from him, because when we just look at his kind of defensive numbers from last year, 2.6 steal rate, 3.1 block rate, 23.3 defensive rebounding rate. All of those are really good numbers, especially for a forward. And those are numbers that tend to translate pretty well. Steal rate currently 66th percentile, block rate currently 66th percentile. It's translating. And so all of the stuff that he's kind of doing right now is what he was doing at Dayton. Obviously he had a little bit more of a more prominent offensive role, but he was never a big time shooter. He shot 36.3% last year at Dayton, but career 30.7%. So the shooting struggles should be expected, especially from a rookie. But I think there's optimism that it can at least get to a point where, if he's left completely wide open, he can knock down 1 or 2 a game. The big thing with him is he's doing all the shit that no one else on a bad team wants to do. He's boxing out. He's crashing the boards. His off-ball movement and what's so impressive with him is how he just cuts in from the wing anytime someone drives or puts a shot up, because he catches his defender sleeping on him all the time, because he knows he's not a shooting threat. His defender knows he's not a shooting threat. So whenever Shaden Sharp or Scoot Henderson or Anthony Simons or Jeremy Grant put up a shot, he's sneaking in behind them and crashing the offensive glass. And that's why he's been so effective. The reason his offensive rating differential is so impressive isn't because he's a big time scorer or playmaker. It's because he's constantly generating extra possessions for that offense. And he's that kind of thorn in the side of opposing defenses, because he's not supposed to be making an impact. So he's not at, one of the top names of the scouting report, but yet he keeps doing all these little things. So we see from role players on really good teams who are typically like the 7th or 8th man in the rotation. And on bad teams, they're a little higher. And, we saw guys like Kenrick Williams do this on a whole bunch of bad teams. Jayshawn Tate do this. Herb Jones earlier. I think Herb is a little more offensively skilled, but that same kind of premise of the guy who's willing to do the dirty work, isn't scared of taking on the most difficult defensive assignment. And they just played the Clippers, and he's eagerly switching and picking up James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George without hesitating for a minute. Anytime he gets ran through a pick and roll, he's taking whoever has the ball. In transition, he's picking them up full court. He's crashing the glass. It's doing all the dirty work that no one else wants to do. And on a bad team, stuff like that really shines through, gets you a lot of minutes, and really improves the overall performance of the team, because no one else is doing that kind of stuff.
Dirty work guys will always find a way to stick around, and they will always find a way to be desired in the NBA. And I'm not saying dirty is like, oh, you play dirty. It's just You're doing the shit no one wants to do every single night. Like, you're willing to set screens.
Love those dudes.
And coaches love those. And you guess what? GMs love those guys, because they're like, those guys are consistent, and we know what we're gonna get from them. But
and superstars love those dudes, because
superstars love
they don't have to go do that shit.
Yes, because they don't have to do it. Somebody else is doing it, and it's like, oh, he got the offensive rebound and kicked it out, and I got it at 3. But this could be a new generation of PJ Tucker. That's what I feel about Toumani. People don't remember, PJ was drafted 35th overall in 2006. He played 17 games for Toronto, then went overseas for 5 years. Came back his first year with the Phoenix Suns. He averaged 6 points and 4 rebounds on 47, 31, 74. So PJ found a way to be like, I can make a living for my career doing the dirty work, spacing the floor, doing what my team needs to be, playing tough all the time. You will always find scouts, GMs, executives, front office guys will love those guys. They will always hunt to find them. And how many times do we always hear fan bases where I wish we could get PJ Tucker. Years ago, it was always like, how do you get PJ Tucker on your team? Or how do you get those guys that really kind of perfectly fit with your superstars, where it's just like Metcalf just said, I don't have to do it. They do it. This is great. So I think Toumani's on the right path. He's figuring out how to stay on the court, how to get more minutes. And, and that next part of his process is going to be okay, get that 3-point percentage a little bit more respectable, because he has a solid looking shot. He's just got to get the numbers up. And it's looks like a potential gold mine find for Portland to build with.
All right. Before we wrap this up, let's circle it back to the 2024 draft. And what do guys like Camara, him shining immediately, him making an impact immediately, what does that mean for some of the guys in this class? And who are some of the names that kind of come to mind when you think of guys who do the little things, do the dirty work, or play with that physicality, that versatility, and find a way to impact a game and impact winning without scoring, without that shot? And
that was a hell of a transition by you. Good Lord. Oh man. Congrats on the Masters. That was fantastic. Woo.
It's all paying off immediately. Look at that. So who are some of the names that kind of pop out? And how much higher do you think that they could go in this draft based on what Camara has been doing?
I would say Ryan Dunn immediately jumps at me, but if I want to, I want to go deeper. I want to find
I'm
later
thinking like
players,
not first round guys.
Okay,
or like fringe guys who could maybe.
I think
into the late
Keyshawn
first.
Johnson would be my number one. Like,
good name.
This is a really. That's why I'm saying I think this draft is going to scare the shit out of some people, and they're going to look at guys like that in the second round and be like, he will work his ass off and will find a way to just be a grinder and not the highest ceiling, but we might get a glue dirty work guy in the second round. Let's grab him. Trying to think of some other. I feel like Tristan Da Silva cheating, probably. Where do you think, Metcalf? Who am I missing?
I mean, I have early second grade on him, but like Matthew Cleveland, his shot has come around a little more. But a guy like KJ Adams,
Adams, Adeuce Thiero, maybe. Dylan Jones, maybe. It's tough because I'm trying to just find guys that are just like, okay, these guys are going to be just grinders. Maybe Dylan Mitchell starting to get a little bit more buzz.
I think that's a really, really good name because he's been really good with cutting. The defense is really impressive, has been since Montford in high school. Starting to show a little bit of
I'm starting to get intrigued again.
Shooting, same.
I'm starting to get intrigued again because it's just what we just said. This is the perfect reason why.
That's a really, really good name.
Because maybe it's not the shooting. Maybe we were always obsessed with the shooting, and maybe we're like, hey, Dylan Mitchell's figuring out how to be an impactful player without the shooting.
Yeah.
We know how athletic he is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just when you watch Mitchell, he does a lot of those kind of same offensive rebound cut-in stuff that Camara does, where he follows the guy on the drive and gets the easy tip in. He crashes from the opposite corner when his teammate takes a three from the opposite wing. He's always really active and really athletic and really physical on the boards and defensively. So I really, really like that shout. But Dylan Mitchell, keep an eye on him. He's playing pretty good basketball this year.
I have one more, not to ruin our good vibes, but I have one more, and you can tell me I'm crazy, and I'll actually appreciate it. That. It's Terrence Shannon Jr. getting back in that conversation. Or do we think he's going to be too just alpha-headed?
I think very different type of player. And my big concern with Shannon is I don't know what he does without the ball. I love his rim pressure. Some of his passing
I think
stuff,
that's where Mitchell's figuring out how to make an impact without the ball. So correct. I know what you're saying.
Okay. All right. So that was Toumani Camara. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's spin the wheel real quick. So
spin it, baby.
For next week, let me pull it up here. Here we go.
Big money, no Emmy. This thing's electric. Let's go. That's going to be a good one.
That'll be fun. So next week, we'll be breaking down Bilal Coulibaly. Polarizing guy from last draft.
That's gonna be fun. Wow. Okay, now I'm really excited.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, Rucker. What's the best thing in the basketball world that you've seen recently? We'll wrap this up quickly.
We'll do green room next time. What week to I don't even know where to start. Do
you want mine? Are you good?
I'm trying not to talk about Draymond.
Oh. God.
Just using the Woj tweet of just indefinite was just like I got like 5 buddies texting me like what, and I was like, yeah, that's crazy, and
it'll be like
I hope he gets better. I hope Draymond gets better.
Why are we acting like maybe there is, maybe there isn't something going on in his personal life, but why are we acting like this is some new phenomenon with him in the last month? He has always been this guy. Go back to Michigan State. He has always been this guy, not necessarily just flat out punching dudes in the face, but that's always how he's played.
There's I don't mean to be like, hey, if he has a problem,
Yeah, of
let's
course.
just not take this the wrong way. Like, if he has a problem, we'll get help. I hope he gets better. But Draymond, like, fool me once, shame on. I when I worked for Warriors, like, I met Draymond, and when he's off the court, he's hilarious. He's awesome. Like, he's really nice. But
yeah, that's what everyone in the media says. It's super talkative.
Russillo had a good story of, like, on his pod where he was talking to him, and he's like, he's like, do you think you should kind of change, Russillo? And he kind of looked like, no, like, I can't. Like that. He didn't say that, but that's just like the look he gave. And I get that with guys like that. You have to find a level to get to be like, I have to have that edge.
Yeah.
But I also think age, father time catches up, and that edge kind of loses its. So yeah, I hope that and Giannis dropping 64 with 32 free throw attempts, and then the Oscar Tshiebwe thing where, like, it was his first bucket, and Giannis was like, I don't care, I want the ball, and it's like,
it was a free throw. I'm sorry, but if someone drops 67 or 64 and sets a franchise record for points in a game, and his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo, your free throw takes a back seat. I'm sorry.
It was just funny. It was Oscar. And it was just also like, he gets every rebound in the world, so it's, of course, he's like, I want the ball. But it was.
Are you buying the Pacers' excuse that that's why they took the ball? Because I'm not.
No.
I think they were being
petty. I think it was funny. It's probably like, hey, you're not getting the ball. Probably laughed their ass off later. Sorry, go ahead. What was yours?
Manas Buzelis. I loved how he looked the other day.
It's a tough. I rarely send Metcalf like screen records at 6 a.m. of like what I'm watching, and I just like was like, he looks better to me. I'm starting to wonder.
You didn't even have the courtesy of like screen recording and sending it on the computer.
I was just like phone.
Took a raw video off your phone of your computer screen.
He looked better.
He did.
He looked better. Now the challenge is do this for a couple games. If he comes back and has a 10-point, game, and I start seeing the old stuff, I'm gonna be like, But I know scouts are still excited about him. And I was like, whoa, okay.
And starting to get it. Game's looking like it's slowing down, getting a little more confident. So you love to see it. Screw it. We went long, but let's go green room.
Okay.
Let's do it. Why not?
Fine.
So
I'm for new listeners, in the brands.
For new listeners, the No Ceilings Green Room is only up to 14 players get in. It is not based on our big board. It is not our 1 through 14 rankings. It is based on vibes, potential, prestige, current style of play, a lot of vibes, very heavy vibes based. Currently, we are not full yet, but we currently have Jacoby Walter, Alexander Sarr, Ron Holland, Justin Edwards, Stephen Castle, Donovan Clingan, Adem Bona, and Zachary Risache. Rucker, I think we got to pull the plug. He's been flirting with danger and flirting with the exit for a couple weeks now. We've given him the benefit of the doubt. I think that time has run out. I'm proposing that Justin Edwards, unfortunately, has to go for now.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll make the switch. We'll make the switch. Justin, so is he just back in line?
Yeah.
He's at the back of the line.
Yeah.
Okay. He's at the back of the line for now, but can we remove people from line?
We can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that would be a fun wrinkle.
No one is safe here.
Yeah, I think a fun wrinkle is if you get demoted to inline, now you're really in the hot zone because now you can get removed from line.
And I really, really hate to do this, but I think we gotta bump my boy Garway out of the line.
Yeah. Is Edwards still worthy of being in line, or do we need to move Garway and Edwards?
I'm willing
to give one at a time.
I'm willing to give Edwards one more week in line.
Okay, we'll remove. Yeah, I think Garway's got to go,
but he's not safe by any means.
I agree.
All right, so in line, we currently have Bronny James, Nikola Topic, Trey Alexander, Bub Carrington, Kevin McCullough, Cody Williams, Reed Shepard, and Justin Edwards. Are there any names that you want to nominate to get in line for consideration?
Oh,
Doing this right after a panic meter episode
it was pretty questionable strategy.
It's tough.
I gotta pull up the graphic again for everybody. Okay. Dalton Connect.
Okay.
Is my nominee.
I will. I'm fine with putting Dalton in line. Where do you have Dalton right now?
I have 21 and
interesting.
Probably. You know what was funny today? I was driving around and I literally was like, why don't I have Connect higher? It just was like in my head. I was like, why don't I move him back up? Or why don't I keep moving him up? I mean, I already see names that I want to move him ahead of. So I think he's going to be in my top 20 for sure. Why isn't he going lotto?
I have him at 13.
I love that out of you. There's just names that I have in that range right now that I'm clearly like, okay, I'm going to probably move you down. But I think Dalton, McCullough, Buzelis are three names I'm eyeing right now that I might be starting to move up. And Justin, Trey are both looking like names I might be moving down. So Dalton's my nominee for this week. I think just he's from the South. Well, I'm saying he's playing at Tennessee, so he's from the South. I calm down, guys. We need some swagger in there. We need some Southern swagger. We got a lot of guys from Europe. Dalton probably connect with them. It's also a big body, so it never hurts. We just get a good mix in there. What do you think?
A lot of versatility with the shots. I think it'd be a really good vibe. So I'm good with him in line right now.
Do you have a nominee
for line? Yeah, fun one. One of the best quote machines in college basketball.
No way. This is better. Okay.
I'm going Tyler Kolek.
I'll approve of the line. Okay. So Dalton and Kolek. Yeah. Because Kolek, you need a little scrappy guy in every crew. Everybody knows that. You always need a scrappy guy. We had Garway, but Garway hasn't really produced, and he's become more of a little bit of a head case when it comes to having fear of him being in the club. We can't have people starting out fights all the time, but Kolek would be one of those. Time. Well, yeah, you know what I'm saying. But still, like he's got to, we got to wait and see with him. If we had Kolek, he's at least, he's never gonna look for a fight, but he's never gonna run away from one too. And plus, he's probably just
gonna make hilarious laugh too.
Yeah, he's gonna make everyone laugh. So I like it.
All right. Do you want to nominate someone to get in, or you want me to?
I want you to.
I think there's a clear name, someone who's just keeps producing, putting up bonkers numbers by the game, rising to the top of some people's draft boards. The Serbian himself, Nikola Topic.
When you started that out, I was like, are we going Cody Williams? Yeah, I think Topic should be in. Okay. So that's a pretty good list. Is there anyone on the guest list that you're eyeing? I still feel fine about Bona in there. I think everyone cooling on Bona is like, hey, what were we expecting of him?
He's in probationary status for me right now.
Oh, no. We hate to hear that. Okay. Well, yeah, I think Topic goes, and then we add Dalton and Tyler Kolek
to line.
Correct. Also, side topic, Tyler Kolek, Dalton, and Reed Shepherd in line is just hilarious. So we have three white guys in the line. So yeah, that'll be fun. But good list. The green room's looking good.
I'm glad that we're doing this week by week, taking it slow. Got to let it naturally kind of fill out. So this was a rough one, but had a blast. Rucker, thank you. He is Tyler Rucker. You can find him on Twitter at Tyler_Rucker. I am Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. You can find all of our writing over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Daily stuff is 100% free. No Ceilings Plus gets you bonus content as well. Follow us across all socials, No Ceilings NBA. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and a 5-star rating. Until next time, see ya.